Hi YouTubers out there. This is Fortune Cookie 45LC and this is a video for all of you YouTube bullet casters out there. So here's the name of the game, and that is to produce these beautiful cast bullets. And not just produce them, but to produce lots of them. Now today's subject is bullet molds. And bullet molds will last many years if we take care of them. So the topic of this video is the care and longevity of bullet molds. So you see, here's our Lyman 429421 mold that does the Keith bullets, 245 grain Keith semi-wad cutters, and it throws bullets at 430, 431, 431, 430. So this is perfect for sizing to 429, which is what I prefer to do with my Keith bullets. Now the last casting session that we did, I saw some cracks in the handle here, the wood handle, starting to develop, so I went ahead and put some duct tape on that. It should last for many years more. This mold is 35 years old. And here's another example of a mold that we have. And this one's a Lee mold. And this mold was perfection, because it throws bullets that are all 4.52 from all 6 cavities. Not only that, but this mold, every time we fill it with lead and let the sprue set, and we cut the sprue off and then we shake it, the bullets all fall out. And that's when we begin to the very end of the casting session. All the bullets fall out. A real joy to use this mold. Now our Lyman mold, we had to do a little work with one of the cavities to get the bullet to fall out. But once we did that and got rid of the little burr in there, then a little shaking and the bullets fall out of this mold. So it's a very joy to use. However, when this mold gets real hot, the bullets tend to stick a little bit. So we tend to use the little towel that's moistened with water and just set it on there and cool the mold between fills once it gets too hot, and then the bullets fall out. So how do we take care of these molds? Well, first of all, when we get a brand new mold, we want to thoroughly degrease it. And a simple way to do it that's very inexpensive is to just go ahead and use an old toothbrush and regular detergent and just scrub all the cavities, scrub the molds, the inside of the mold, just underneath the sprue plate, just scrub it and then rinse it real well. And then when we're ready to cast, set this on top of the casting pot to warm up, and then with the aluminum mold we can dip the corner into the hot lead and get the mold preheated, but then go ahead and begin casting. And as we do that, the mold will reach temperature, and once that happens, we can cast and cast away this particular mold. The bullets just fall right out. Now with this one, since it's a used mold, it has ballistol coating it, and this last casting session we did, where we actually cast 1,700 bullets. And this is over and above the 2,500 that we did before that you've seen on the other videos. Those have already been sized and lubricated. but we have all these now that we just did. So anyway, when the ballistol is coated and we're ready to use the mold again, I did a little notation taking this last time, and I didn't bother to go ahead and scrub it with detergent and all that kind of thing. Since the ballistol is a very light coating in there, went ahead and just started casting. Put this on top of the melting furnace to get it to preheat. Now we don't dip the corner of iron molds into the lead to heat the mold. That works with aluminum, but it's not recommended for the iron. So we just went ahead and started casting, and it took 9 fillings before the ballistol was burned out and the mold reached the temperature and we started getting good castings. So 9 fillings is not a great deal of work to get this mold to work well again, and then we can go ahead and cast away at our casting session. So taking care of our molds, what do we do after we're through casting? So this mold is hot, anywhere around 550 degrees or thereabouts. Well, open it up, let the last bullets fall out, open it up, and let it cool down a bit to where we can touch it. And right away take your ballistol on a rag and start to wipe down these areas where there might be some streaks of lead in here. Wipe that right off. When the mold's still hot, that's very easy to do. If you let it cool down, you got to do a little work to get that lead off. But once, if the mold is still hot, just wipe it right off. So the mold is still pretty hot when we're doing this. And then the undersurface of the sprue plate can have lead streaks, and we want to wipe those off with the ballistol rag. Now notice there's some scratches there. Those aren't lead streaks. So then wipe this down. Now in some circles the recommendation is to leave a bullet in the cavity. But the problem with that is if you leave a bullet in the cavity and you fill this one last time and you leave a bullet in the cavity, well, when you open it up, then the bullets will be on one side or the other. That allows us to go ahead and wipe out and coat the inside with whatever preservative you want to use. I use ballistol. But then when you close it again and you leave the bullets in there, well, there's a possibility that now we've separated the lead from the cavity, at least on one side, that moisture could get in there. So that doesn't work. And if you fill the cavities with lead and leave the sprue here, which is the way some people store it, well then you have no chance to get any preservative here or underneath the sprue plate or on the other side of the inside of the blocks. You're going to store it like this with the sprue on top and the bullets inside the cavity, and you're going to close it up and store this. Well, there's no preservative in there. And that makes me feel a little uncomfortable. So I take the bullets out, lets me freely put a very thin layer of ballistol inside, and this mold is 35 years old. You won't find any rust on this thing. Zero. Now I take a little Q-tip, put a little ballistol in those screws. Take a Q-tip, get a little ballistol inside these little recesses right there in the upper left, the lower left, and in the middle right. Get a little ballistol inside those, and you'll have no rust. Remember, ballistol was developed by the German army for all those wet conditions. and they used it during the First World War, where the troops were up to their knees in the water in the trenches, and they had to protect their firearms, and Balisol did a good job. Well, they'll do a good job for our molds too. Now, when we store this, store it in a dry, cool place. Extra protection, put it in a container and throw some desiccant in there, the little packets of desiccant, and check it every once in a while, at least once every other month, because you might want to coat Balisol in there some more. This mold is about $140 in your front door. Might as well take care of it. And if you do, it'll last forever. Now, Lean molds are inexpensive. This whole thing is like somewhere around $55 by the time you get it in your front door. So less than half price for the iron mold. So some of the YouTubers out there have said, well, we just use our Lean molds, and if they wind up getting all beat up because we're beating on this nut to make the bullets drop out, and we're putting a lot of smoking in here, and they get all beat up and they're soft aluminum. Well, if they get beat up, just buy another one. Well, that's certainly true, but why do that? These molds will last surprisingly long time. Maybe not as long as an iron mold, but quite a long time. So let's look at this. This mold happens to be a 6-cavity mold for the 45 long Colt, and it casts these bullets. Now look at that. That's a 200 grain round nose flat point. Nice flat bottom, square base, very detailed grease grooves, very good casting. Here's one that casts a 255 grain. Now you've already seen that one, but look how good those castings are. And then here's the one that the Lyman does. 245 grain Keith semi-wad cutter with a very generous grease groove. Heavy lead that will penetrate. But this 200 grain 45 long Colt round nose flat point is a very good bullet, and this mold makes them. Not only does this mold make them, but it makes them very well. From day one, we got this mold, and I remember this very well because this mold is surprising. It was surprising to me. We degreased it by scrubbing it with detergent, rinsed it out, put it on top of the casting furnace to heat up as the lead was melting. And then when the lead was melted, we dipped a corner in, and then we started casting. And it took about 5 fillings, but we started getting great bullets. And the surprising thing was that when we opened the mold and opened it, a couple of little shakes like that, all 6 bullets fell out from day one. And the impressive thing is you can cast marathon casting sessions and the bullets will fall out from the beginning to the end. And it doesn't matter how hot you get it. You can run this mold hot and the bullets come out just great, and they all fall out of the mold. No matter how hot you get it, once you start getting good castings, all the bullets just fall right out. And this didn't require any work. Now, a lot of YouTubers like to do a lot of things with their molds. They might want to take fine sandpaper and smooth this out and smooth the undersurface of the sprue plate. Some of them like to scrub the insides with abrasives to get it to fall out, and they're still smoking it. Well, I don't recommend smoking molds because you'll see that the lead doesn't want to stick to the outside when it's hot. So why should it stick to the cavity? It won't stick to the cavity. And the sprues are right on top and they fall right out. So the lead doesn't stick to the sprue plate. Well, why should it stick to the cavity? And the answer is it really doesn't. It'll fall out of there too. The only thing that stops it from falling out is if you have any burrs in there, little burrs that are on the edge there, inside the cavity. That'll hold the bullet in, and you got to hit this nut to get the bullet to fall out. Well, if you get a sticky cavity, just remove the burr, and pretty soon your mold will start to work real well. Just shake it and the bullets will fall out. But this one didn't require any of that. It just worked perfectly from the very beginning. And it's done that with every casting session that I've used it in. We've used it quite a bit now. I can't tell you how many bullets we made from this. But I'll tell you one thing for sure, there's 1,200 right there. Of those beautiful 200 grain round nose flat point bullets. So when we're through, we want to, before it gets too cool, we want to wipe it down with Ballistol, get rid of the lead smears that might be in there. Wipe it all down with Ballistol, just a very light coating, don't use a lot, underneath the sprue plate. Get a very thin coating of Ballistol inside each cavity by simply going in there with the rag, with the Ballistol, and just rubbing the inside of the cavity and getting a little bit in there. Use a Q-tip for the inside of the little pin holes in here, the retaining the alignment pins, the little hole there, and then store it in a dry, cool place, and you won't get any rusting, and it'll stay good just like this, waiting for you to work with the next casting marathon or casting session. So there you go, YouTubers, the care of the molds before and after. Once again, I don't like to smoke my molds because the bullets will release without smoking, and if you do want to smoke them, you can if it works better for you, but I recommend doing that only if the bullets still stick after you removed any burrs. Try the smoking. Otherwise, you can skip that step. By the way, this Lee mold throws bullets that are all 4.52 from every cavity. Very consistent mold. Plus it performs well to cast with. And the bullets shoot just great. So there's just no complaints about this Lee mold. No complaints about this Lyman mold. We love the Keith bullets. They work for almost every purpose and work well. YouTubers out there, hope you have some great experiences with your casting. And keep at it, and we'll see you at the range, and have a very nice day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.